It was pretty ballsy. I had 0 clients. I sold my house. I quit law enforcement, and then I moved out to Utah, where I knew like one person. I want to change the scenery. I know there's some other people out here that do this, and so I want to get as quickly as I can into this network.
Everybody's good. We're all good. Danny Garcia is in the house, everybody. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to a filmmaker's journey.
Yeah.
I was telling you when you got in here, I was like, you finally made time for us. You're so busy with work.
Well, you know, I have a weird schedule, but no.
What is your schedule like as a filmmaker? Are you a 9-to-5er at all, or are you like late nights?
I wish it was a 9-to-5.
Really? Just sometimes?
Yeah, that would be a nice way to know. Most of the time I don't know my schedule, what it's going to be. I'm like, it'll change throughout the day. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it's all over the place. One day it might be 9-to-5, but then another might be like 8 till 11 or 12 or whatever the shoot takes. So, yeah, it just changes.
So it's the shoots that kind of throw wrenches in your schedule, but if it comes down to like, do you edit?
Yes.
Like
a lot less now.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. So a lot less now, but
nice.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I want to get into is like, obviously I've got you in here. We met, you work for Film Lab, and that's how we met. You were in my studio, and I followed your Instagram, and I was cracking up at all your amazing videos, your concepts about just the life of a filmmaker and the funny things we deal with.
Yeah. I don't know. I think sometimes I think of situations and I'm like, I feel like other people have to relate to this.
100%.
Where, yeah, it's just like, does anyone else think like this too? Where, you know, you're like, oh, I need to get this shot. And you just kind of like, from an outside perspective, like this one specifically, this is actually my honeymoon.
Yeah.
But I was like, I would take a couple videos and my wife would just smile and just kind of like, she could tell I'm just like in the zone of something. So then I exaggerated, obviously, but like from like a outside perspective of like what it would look like. And
so
I think
a couple of those are real, and then we're like, you know, let's lean into it.
Yeah.
She's like catching you in the moment.
And then, it's just like, I feel like a lot of people, I think that's the one thing about filmmaking is we all have these stressful moments or have these different quirks or things that happen, and we can all relate to them. But then sometimes too, as we're growing as a new filmmaker, we're like, am I doing this right? Or does anyone else have these issues? And then, so it's like, I like making videos like this where it's like, it's relatable.
Yeah. The one that stands out to me is when you rolled over the SD card.
Yes, that was the worst experience I've ever had.
Because isn't that a true story? But like you made it a video.
Yeah, so it's like a couple of these, like some of these are just kind of like funny. Like this one I was just kind of making up. I actually bought that camera to be able to drop forever ago.
I was going to ask like, too, you broke a laptop yesterday.
Yeah, so that one's like I think I bought that camera for $40, and I had this concept for something else previously about dropping that camera. And then there's other times where I'm like, oh, I could use that camera again for this video, for example, which is just kind of more of like everyone would love to, you know, steal from their job to be able to start their career. But
yeah, no, for sure. I get people stealing from me all the time.
But yeah, the one with the SD card, that one, it was, I had just got done with a shoot. I think it was just a product shoot. And so I didn't have to have anyone come back and reshoot something. It was just I went to the studio, shot something, pulled out my SD card, and it fell on the ground. And I went back on my chair and I rolled over on it and broke the SD card. And so it's like, that one right there with my eyes on that left. Yeah, that was kind of like how it happened. It wasn't with Film Lab, but it was like kind of when I first started, and I was just so stressed because one, broke the SD card. But yeah, that was.
Yeah, man. These are real life things for sure. And that's what I love about it. So once I followed you, you had come in again, I think. And it was like, yo, Danny, we got to have you on. We got to hear your story. You gave me a little bit of insight into it, which I'm really excited to hear about.
Yeah.
And, but let's start with who you are. Let's give a proper introduction. I want your name. I want you to kind of give us your title, whatever it is, and what you do.
All right. Well, my name is Danny Garcia. I'm a filmmaker in Salt Lake City, Utah. My title is director, sometimes editor, sometimes assistant director. The one interesting thing with Film Lab specifically is that we rotate around through different positions. So it's not just a set I'm always the director. I'm always the
Yeah.
assistant director, always the DP. It changes depending on what project it is. Most of the time I will be doing directing or assistant directing. That's kind of been my area. And then a lot more lately, it's been less editing and kind of going more to the pre-production type of role.
Cool. So you probably lean into more of the director role if you're doing a lot of the concepting and pre-production for a project.
Yes.
Do you guys have multiple projects coming in at the same time that you need multiple people to kind of run pre-production and creative and then hand off directing, or like how does that work?
Yeah. So with us, we have a lot of projects that will be going on at the same time. So rather than having one person, always editing and getting thrown into the next edit and the next edit, that ends up becoming stressful. Or same thing with directing. If you're trying to do pre-production for, 3-4 different projects at the same time, then, you kind of feel pretty overwhelmed trying to, keep track of what projects what. So it kind of makes it nice where I'm focused on directing this one, and then the next one the other project I might be shooting that project, but then someone else is kind of doing the main pre-production, and then they'll bring me in later on. Yeah. So it just kind of helps balance some of that work.
Nice. What do you enjoy the most? Do you love directing, or?
Yeah, I think directing is kind of my passion. I really love being able to come up with some creative idea and then being able to bring it to life, being able to have the right team, be able to lead the right team, to be able to make something creative. I think that's something I've always loved doing, is just being able to have a concept and then saying, okay, like what if we did this, this, and this, and then helping other people see my vision and kind of going from there.
That's the fun. That's the most fun part, when you can get people to see your vision.
Yes.
It's like so annoying when you're like, I can see it. How do I get people to understand it? And it's usually once the video's done, and
yes.
It's like, look, this is what I saw. It changed a little bit, but this is where it's at.
I will say, I think that's been the most interesting thing, is being like, as you grow within your filmmaking journey, at first you might be just by yourself. And so you don't actually have to explain things to other people. And then as you start to grow more and more and more, you start to realize you have to communicate really well with other people in order to get that person to see your vision.
Yep.
Because I might say one word and you might interpret it a completely different way. So then I need to understand how you communicate and be able to communicate my vision into your communication style.
Yeah, that was one thing I learned that I thought was common sense. When you have like a creative visual brain and you're telling something, a vision or a project or a picture in your head, and you just assume people see it.
Yes.
And early in my career, you realized, oh, that's why we storyboard. Okay, that makes sense, because you don't see what I see, and we have different brains and all that. So I think that's so fun, because that is such a fun part of directing, is just like you're pulling things from the ether, and it's like just ideas and inspiration and experience you've had in your life, and you're bringing those experiences to your work. I saw, it brings me to a thought I had with one director. I can't even remember who it was. Super famous, really old guy that's directed a lot. Doesn't tell you much, but he's like, there's so many young directors now that are 20, in their early 20s, and they're getting these massive opportunities. And he's like, that's great, but he's like, where you really shouldn't be a director until, like, a really good director, or like someone that, he's like, I would prefer to hire a director that's like in their 40s. He's like, they've got so much experience, and they're going to bring this new perspective and all this experience to their film. And I think that's what's cool about every director, is you're going to direct it different than someone else would, based on what you've dealt with and learned in your life. And so I'm sure you're figuring that out too, as you are directing more and more, and then starting to find your voice and your style. And that kind of brings me to the question of, like, before we go all the way back, how long have you been doing this? Because I want to get to what you told me when you came in here. When the heck did you start? But at the same time, how long have you been a filmmaker?
Yeah, so I think my full-time doing it, I've been doing it since 2021. That's when I will say that's when I decided to jump into this career as full-time, was doing that. But like being able to pick up a camera and wanting to be a type of creative, I started pretty young. Like cool. When I was probably honestly like 6, I started taking the home camcorder and wanting to film. And then, so I start filming my friends. And then all of a sudden it's like going outside and skating or riding our bikes off jumps. And then it was coming up with little ideas of like these funny little skits of having my cousins as talent and making them be in these roles, and then me kind of directing them that way. As I started getting a little bit older, I think in like 6th grade, I wrote a report that I wanted to be a director when I grew up.
Cool.
And as I continued kind of wanting that dream, I had a couple of businesses say, hey, I know you have a camera. Do you want to do something for us? And so like my very first job was, I think it was like in 8th grade. And I made like $400 for a commercial, and I was pumped. And it's probably the worst video that you could have ever seen. It was like on Windows Movie Maker, editing that. And, but as I started doing that stuff, I was telling my parents, this is kind of what I want to do. And they're like, that's great, but you'll never make money consistently.
Yeah.
And so growing up, my mom was a nurse, my dad was a cop. And so, yeah, they're like, you need to have like a normal job. You need to be able to have this stability and this and that. And
get a pension. Yeah.
And so for me, I was like, okay. And so I kind of left that dream to kind of just be a hobby.
So originally obviously you wrote the report, you wanted to go down this direction, and you perfectly segued into the beginning of your journey. And as you started to film, I'm trying to get a gauge of when this was, because I can't tell how old you are. You look very young.
Just turned 18. No,
okay,
I'm just kidding.
Cool. And so we'll figure it out as we keep talking, but basically when you were in 6th grade, and even before that, when you picked up a camcorder, what camera were you using?
That one, it was just some camcorder that had a DV tape. Okay. It was just some old,
all right, you're in my
random
generation.
one. Yes. So I had that. And
you're early 30s, mid 30s.
Yep.
35.
I'll be 33 like in a couple weeks.
See, if someone says DV, they're in my generation. But if they're like, I picked up my mom's DSLR, it's like, oh, you're 10 years.
Now I'm like, the 1DX Mark II.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No. So I started with that, and then it was just like, then I got another camera that had DV tape, and that was like in high school. Like that's what we were using in high school. So that kind of tells it right there.
That was us too.
Yeah.
In high school, it was the DV tape and capturing footage,
and we had Final Cut. I was like, man, this is amazing.
Yeah. Did you know I still use the Final Cut 7 shortcuts?
I think Final Cut is amazing.
Yeah. No, I have used Adobe Premiere, but I have it all set up with Final Cut 7.
Oh, that's
shortcuts
awesome.
I have not changed. It's a keyboard for me.
If it works, it works.
Yeah,
and I
there's
think
no reason.
That's such a funny thing that people on the internet fight about.
Yeah.
And it makes me laugh because it's like people will argue and like, no, you have to do it this way. You have to do it this way. And I'm like, you guys are just arguing on the internet. You guys should just go out and create. Like at the end of the day,
Sony
I don't
I
don't watch people like watch a movie and I'm like, well, what did they edit on?
Yeah. Oh, I don't like that movie. It was on DaVinci.
Yeah. It was like
Premiere Pro.
That video that was making that joke about the Sony, saying like, Sonys are great.
Yeah.
If you don't want good footage or something like that.
Yeah.
And people are freaking out. And I'm like, because I pulled up like a C50, and it's funny because I'm like, I could care less. If you give me a Sony, I'll shoot on a Sony.
Yeah.
Like I like both. I like Sony. I like Canon. It's just I started on Canon. I have too much glass and too many cameras to switch over to make sense. But
anyone in our generation started on Canon.
Yeah.
And then we got all of our lenses, and there's no way we're switching to Sony. But I saw a really funny video of a girl. She's like, I know that life's really hard, but at least I don't reach into my bag and pull out a Canon. And it's like, or it was life really sucks or something like that. Or at least I don't reach in and pull out a Canon. And the comments were just crazy. It's like so funny.
It's funny. People like live on the internet of just like, I need to comment every single thing. And I'm like, I probably didn't read half those comments. I could care less.
Yeah, well, encourage it, because haters will make you get a lot of views and raise a lot of controversy. You just got to embrace it. So then you didn't go towards being a filmmaker. You decided to go down a different path. What was that?
Yeah. So I actually went into law enforcement. So my dad was a cop. His dad was a cop. Thought I'd join the family business and went into law enforcement. So I ended up working at the same sheriff's office as my dad.
Cool.
So that was really fun. So I did that for 4 years, and so that was.
Where was this?
So this is in Boise.
Oh, gotcha.
So,
that's right. You said you're from Boise.
I was thinking, okay, this is stability right here. They have retirement, they have insurance. This is the path for me. And at the time, I really did love it. I really enjoyed it. Enjoyed the team that I was with, and I had a lot of fun doing that.
What's like your day to day like as more into your career, like 4 years into it? What was like your day to day?
Yeah, so it was different. So the very first part, I worked in the jail, and then at the very end I switched over to patrol. But in the jail, it's a lot more schedule oriented. Like, you almost know exactly, there's a routine for everyone in the jail of, like, everyone's going to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner at this time. People are going to, rotate at this time. So that one's a lot more like, hey, this is what your everyday is. Patrol is definitely different. It could be having no calls for a day or very minimal to having a lot of crazy calls, going from one call to another. So it's different.
Yeah.
So
I always wondered that, like, what life's like as a police officer.
Yeah, I think a lot of patrol, it can be, if it's a busy day, you're just reacting the whole time.
Yeah.
And then if it's a slower day, then you're trying to be proactive.
Yeah. Cool.
So.
That's awesome. When you were out patrolling, were you filming anything? Were you ever getting creative?
No, but it's funny because when I worked in the jail, I worked nights. So most of my career I worked nights, and I loved nights. I would have stayed on nights for the rest of my life if I had stayed down that path. But in the jail, one thing that was happening is I was watching YouTube videos of all these different people becoming filmmakers and going down their path. And I was just like, man, that just sounds like so much fun. Like, people are making money.
Yeah.
My parents were liars. Like I want to go down that path. But at the time, I was married, and I was like, I need something stable. Like, I don't want to quit this where it's like I'm getting a paycheck and then say, hey, I'm quitting this and I'm going to try to pursue this and it not work.
Yeah.
And so that was my worry for the longest time, is I can't leave here to try to pursue something, even though I really want to pursue it and see if I'm good at it.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's one thing that you see other people making money and that there is possible income, but if you're not good, you're not going to be making money. Like, it's not just being a great creative. It's like the business side of it too.
Yeah.
Knowing how to actually even talk with clients or network your way through.
Yeah.
I think that's a big thing that a lot of filmmakers I see struggle with, is actually connecting with clients or networking their way with other filmmakers or being able to network their way through business.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a challenge, man. It's something you learn as you go, but there's also a lot of stuff to teach you.
Yeah.
But like, until you really get in that client conversation where you're like pitching, you really think you might know, and then you're stumbling over your words and you're like, crap, I'm trying to close them. It's so hard.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of go through it.
Yep.
But when you get to, so you're a police officer, you're watching YouTube videos, you're watching these people, anyone inspire you that you saw that was like, that maybe helped you kind of lean out?
So like when I first started, so I bought Full-Time Filmmaker back in I think it was like 2017.
Yeah.
And so it was watching, Landon, by the way, Jake Weisler, Parker, and just seeing that they're teaching you, different things on how to be successful. And so while I was in law enforcement, I actually did a couple job shadows with those guys and got to know them. And I was like, man, this is something that I think I could actually be good at. I think I could do this. And so, like, the first thing I think I started doing was I started shooting weddings. And that was kind of my first kind of way into stepping into it, was shooting weddings. And it wasn't, I was shooting them every week. It was probably once every 6 months, because I was still in law enforcement at the time. And so it was just trying to figure out, okay, how do I like market myself? How do people know? And then there was also that other weird aspect at that point where, with being in law enforcement, I wasn't on social media, or at least I tried to be very minimal on social media.
Yeah.
So just because you don't have a lot of people that always love law enforcement. And so I kept that pretty minimal. So it was a weird experience going from, wanting to share things and show people who I am, but then also being worried about, having the wrong people find me
right
through that path.
Interesting. What a wild like transition
Yeah.
to think through. Like it's like one of the most non-traditional, I think, stories we've had on the podcast of just like, yeah, being a cop and then becoming a filmmaker.
Yeah.
And that transition is so interesting. And because you're saying that, you know, you probably you weren't even putting your personal life on social media,
No.
let alone your films when you were making them. So like this transition that you made out of law enforcement, how did that work? Like you said, you're doing weddings for every 6 months. Was this like a couple of year thing? I guess when was this? Because you said 21 was when you.
So I was in law enforcement. I started law enforcement like 2017.
Okay.
So about that same time, I had bought my first DSLR camera.
Cool.
And that was kind of like this. It was a little hobby thing where I was like, oh, this is cool. Like I see people on YouTube doing some stuff. I want to start filming and making my own random videos.
Yeah.
I never ever shared my videos, but I loved just making content or being creative. And so it was just my hobby. And so it was kind of like I started that about the same time I started law enforcement. And then about my fourth year, so it would have been towards the end of 2020, I had some stuff happen in my life and I ended up getting divorced. And for me, it was a pretty big shock. It came out of nowhere. And when that happened, one thing I realized is I'm not taking care of anyone else. I don't have kids. I don't have a wife. If I had to sleep on a couch, I'd be okay. But where do I want to steer my life?
Mm-hmm.
The one hard thing about law enforcement is it can be difficult for a family.
Yeah.
And so one thing in my life is I've always wanted to have a family. And growing up with my dad being in law enforcement, I noticed I realized how often he was gone.
Yeah.
He was always at trainings, and then he was on SWAT. And then he was always on call for different things. And he ended up having to be gone a lot. And so I was like, okay, well, what else do I want to do? Well, I see all my other, these other people that I've met, they're finding success in this journey. Why wouldn't I be able to do it?
Right.
And so it was, a couple months after getting divorced, I was like, I think I'm going to quit and I want to try to pursue this.
Dude.
And my dad was very hesitant at first.
Yeah.
Because as he should be, because I think a lot of times too, when a big event happens in your life, sometimes people make, maybe not the best, they don't have the best judgment with certain things. And so he was worried that maybe I was making a bad call.
Right.
But for me, one of the things I had done is I had talked to my sergeant, and he said, hey, I think you should go do this. Like I went and talked to him. I said, hey, I think I want to quit and I want to try to pursue this journey of trying to do this full time. And he said, I support you. And if it doesn't work out, you have a spot to come back.
Very cool.
And so for me, it was nice where I didn't have to worry about, okay, if this doesn't work out, what do I do next?
Mm-hmm.
It was, if this doesn't work out, I do have this other plan.
Right.
But around that same time frame, I had met a couple friends in Utah and had just networked with just a couple people in Utah. And one of my other thoughts and feelings were I wanted a change of scenery. And so I ended up leaving Boise and coming out to Utah. I knew there were a bunch of filmmakers in Utah.
Yeah.
Didn't know a lot of them, only knew a couple, but I was like, I'm going to work my ass off just to be able to network through and figure out how to become successful in this journey.
Dude, wow. What a story. In 2022, I'm sure 2020 as well. During COVID, like, were you a police officer during that time?
Yeah.
Because you were done at what, end of 2020 or?
Yeah. So I got divorced end of 2020. And then, so during that time, it was that weird COVID thing. It was a lot more relaxed in Idaho. We weren't locked up like a lot of other places were.
Yeah.
So I didn't have that experience of that stuff.
Just mostly wearing masks.
Yeah. I mean, like, even like mask was pretty minimal. Like, really? Most people didn't wear masks going into stores. And so it was pretty normal.
It's pretty similar here for sure. There was some locations that were pretty strict. The worst was at my gym. It's
Oh,
like I'm trying to work out, and
yeah.
people were pretty strict, and it was such a wild time. But you start down this journey of like being a filmmaker. You took the full-time filmmaker in 2017, so that was like right when you started law enforcement. So it's cool that you kind of had this hobby that you just continued to nurture. Were you doing things while you were a police officer to kind of better your skills? I know you're shooting weddings, but were you editing things? Did you ever have this idea during that time, like I'm going to leave eventually?
I had it in the back of my mind, I think.
Okay.
I had that thought because, again, as I started meeting a couple people that actually did it,
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking, I know I can do this.
Yeah.
I might not be the best creative out there, but I know I have a really good skill set of networking with people and being able to get myself in the right doors to be able to do this.
Right.
And so it was more just betting on myself and having the courage to walk away from something so comfortable and pursuing this dream.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy because we've had people in like Jeremy Prusso, he was a construction worker, but like, I feel like you being a cop, like that feels like a lifetime role for some reason to me. Like my friend was a firefighter. It was the same thing for him and he ended up quitting, but it was like, you kind of sign up to do this for a lifetime and there's a lot of benefits to that. Right. And so this is a little bit more intense, the fact that you were like, I'm going to quit, but it is also cool that you had that option if you needed to fall back on it. But it just seems like a way harder 180 for you to make.
Mentally, I felt like it was because there were a few different factors where my dad was really well known at the sheriff's office.
Yeah.
Growing up, it was kind of an interesting childhood because I think the agency was a lot smaller, and so a lot of times my dad, when I was younger, would actually just take me to trainings. So I would be at the trainings and I'd meet all the guys that worked there. And so when I did apply, I already knew everyone there.
Yeah.
And so one of my worries was that I was going to, in a sense, let down my dad or let down, the legacy of
course,
of the Garcias. And that was a big stress because I know a lot of times people can be tough on each other in law enforcement where, you don't want to feel weak. And so sometimes when people leave, people look at them as weak. And so I was so worried about letting down my dad and these other people that I have worked with.
Yeah.
But when I got past that fear and I actually, took the leap of faith, I was actually surprised of how positive everyone was. Even still to this day, everyone's like, dude, you made the right choice.
Yeah.
Like every single person I talk to is like, you made the right choice. I'm so glad that you left. I've even inspired some other people to be able to do some stuff like that.
Yeah, it's cool. And it's like you're setting up your life you're going in a completely different trajectory. Like the experiences that you're able to experience compared to what you were doing, obviously they're just very different.
Yeah.
And then you're meeting, what I love about filmmaking too, is you're meeting so many different people. I'm curious, like you're probably meeting a lot of people, but not like the best side of the world. You're probably seeing a lot of things that are a little bit sad and a little bit scary, but on the filmmaking side, you're probably seeing a lot more positive.
Yeah.
It's a pretty harsh contrast between the two, or am I wrong?
Yeah, no, I will say one thing about law enforcement that I now looking back is I think I became a lot colder or a lot more closed off. When I was younger, I was very outgoing and I was talking with everyone. But with law enforcement, I think I started becoming a little bit more jaded.
Yeah.
I really didn't want to share my emotions. I didn't want to share what's going on with my thoughts.
Yeah.
And you end up dealing with, it's like, it's not always, you do come across, you do have great conversations with people. You do have good interactions. There is a lot of pro law enforcement, but at the same time, you're dealing with a lot of the 1% of bad in the world.
Right.
And you deal with that over and over, and you start to feel like almost everything's like
bad.
But
That's my buddy's dad was he was a sergeant of Lehigh, and that's what I heard is like, and then even Lawson's dad, he's retired, right? Oh yeah. So like you hear about it and it's like they see so much of the bad so often that it feels like the world's just burning, right?
Yeah.
And that's got to be difficult. And then I feel like in our careers, we do see a lot of the good because filmmaking does bring out the good in people. Like Jim Carrey said it best. He said, I chose a career that allowed me to present my best self everywhere I'm at. So when people see me, they're like, oh, Jim Carrey, like, and they think of him as his best self because he's a comedian, and just like they saw him on film as a funny person. So it's kind of, that's what I'm trying to get to, is there's a stark contrast in kind of these career paths that you've chosen. And now that you're going down filmmaking, as you started to, I guess, was it a hard cutoff and you just said, I'm quitting, and then you met some people in Utah, but like, what the heck did you do?
It's funny because I think about it and I'm like, it was pretty ballsy. Like,
it totally was. And you
had
moved.
0 clients. It wasn't like, it was when I decided to quit. I sold my house, I quit law enforcement, and then I moved out to Utah, where
just
I knew
on
like
a whim.
one person. And I was like,
and I know you knew,
a big part, I was like, I want to change the scenery. I know there's some other people out here that do this. And so I want to get as quickly as I can into this network. And so my mom had she had an apartment in Sandy. And so I ended up moving into that apartment, slept on a twin bed that my feet hung off of so that I wasn't in this. Because at the same time, I'm still trying to grieve my marriage.
It was like a month later, wasn't it?
Because, it was like, a few months later. And because, one thing with my job with law enforcement at the time is I'm not processing it because I'm at work and I'm dealing with other things where I'm just trying to keep myself busy that way and focusing on work. And I just wasn't processing. So I knew when I moved here, the big thing was I can't let myself stay in bed. I think that's what happens with a lot of people, is that when they have depression or anxiety, you end up being paralyzed. And so I made my room not comfortable. So I went from, having a home with having a king size bed to going into an extra bedroom in my mom's apartment with a twin bed where my feet are hanging off. But I'm like, hey, I'm setting myself up this way so I can get out the door all the time and I'm not just laying in bed. So the first part of it, when I moved out here, it's like, how do you get clients and how can I figure this out? And so I thought to myself, the best people that are going to know that are going to be other people that are doing it. And so at first I was going down the path of shooting weddings. And so I started networking with a lot of other wedding videographers and seeing how they're doing it and saying, hey, I can second shoot for you. I can do some second shooting, and getting to know them that way. And then the other thing I started learning was, okay, I need to start taking some of my videos that I have shot and actually making ads for them. And so I started posting on Instagram and then just doing some paid ads that way. And I would get one person, and that one person I made sure to take care of them because I know that the better experience I can give them, not just a beautiful wedding video, because at the end of the day, if you take care of someone, the end product really almost doesn't matter. It's like they want to know the experience that they had with it. And I think some people fixate the opposite way, where they want to make sure the end piece is perfect, but then they don't give them a great experience. And so I knew right away that if I give them a great experience, they're going to give me referrals. And so it started working through that way, as referrals.
Mitch got a good one. Have you told him that? You're like, hey, Mitch, you got a good one.
Yeah.
In me.
No.
That's so perfectly said, because it's what keeps them coming back, and it's what you're going to get referrals from, right? And it's how you're going to grow. And especially in weddings, like if you're not running ads, like you just want people to continue to tell about the next people, or the next, they want to just refer all their friends to you. You said that you had job shadowed full-time filmmaker. When was that? Was that during the time
that would have been it was probably 2017, 2018.
So did you come to Utah to do that?
Yeah. So there was one time that this is when I was working in the jail, and I happened to be I think it was on the Facebook page for Full-Time Filmmaker. And Jake said that they were looking for someone to do the job shadow and film all the behind the scenes for, I think this was for there was a couple different times, but I think so this one was for a wedding in Arizona. And for whatever reason, I sent him a message right away and I say, hey, do you still need someone? I can do that. And he says, great.
Yeah, you're like, crap.
So he says, great. So I'm like, okay, now I'm in Idaho.
Yeah.
This is in Arizona. So I ended up paying my way to fly out there to go shoot behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing that I was very big about doing at the very beginning was shooting for free.
Yeah.
Even paying my way to shoot. And so when I was talking with Jake at first, he's like, yeah, so where do you live? And I'm like, oh, I live in Boise. And he's like, wait, so you flew out here just to do this? I'm like, yeah, I want to learn.
Yeah.
It wasn't that I'm fangirling. It wasn't any of this stuff, but I'm like, hey, he knows what he's doing. I really want to learn.
Yeah.
And so that's where I was betting on myself. I was just, most people won't pay that flight to go out there. Most people will say, I need it to be in this location. I need this to be right by me. But I wanted to be the person that's getting after it and trying to, learn from some of the best people.
Yeah.
And at the time that's who I thought was the best. And so that's why I went.
That's cool. Cause I mean, this is also while you're a cop. So you were pursuing it without kind of thinking about that being the end goal.
Yep.
Which is cool. So I don't want to keep digging into it, but did you have this this in the back of your head, like I got to do this the entire time you were a cop?
Yeah. At first I think I was wanting to be a lot more subtle, being like, okay, maybe I can build a clientele and shoot weddings and then start getting more and more busy and then maybe do that. Or maybe I do both at the same time. Maybe it's like on my days off, then I can go shoot this and then come back. But I think it was really the divorce that ended up making me be like, let me just try to full send it. Let me try to do something like that. But yeah, then that was kind of.
You made a good choice, man. Cause I love what you're doing. And so then you end up, you're networking, you're getting these opportunities. You had one person here that you knew.
Yeah.
You were doing some weddings. What took you down the next path? Like what did an opportunity pop up or?
Yeah. It's kind of funny because I think I always just tried putting myself out there. Yeah. My phrase when I first started was, I'm down. Yeah. I'm always down. And I think that's again, what set me up for success for this pathway. It didn't matter what the budget was. It didn't matter if people couldn't even pay me. I would tell them I'm down. Yeah. I'd always hear, hey, I don't have a budget. Hey, I can't pay you. I can pay you $100. And it didn't matter for me. I'm like, I'm down. I'm always down because I knew that as I put in this effort, I'm going to find the right people that I'll be able to make this a career for myself. Right. And so, it just happened with a lot of different things at the same time. Like I would say yes to one thing, yes to another. There were times where I would get done with a shoot and I'd get home and I was about to try to take a nap because I was exhausted, and all of a sudden someone else texts me like, hey, this last second, can you come help me out with this? I'm like, yes, down. And so I went and did that. And so it's just, there were just a lot of different things that pivoted me into my next spot. And so one of them was, as I was shooting weddings, I was like, I don't know if this is my passion, specifically shooting weddings. Like what do I like to do? And I had one friend who was shooting a product video. And so as we went and shot that, I was like, man, I actually really like doing that. Yeah. And so then I started shooting some product videos, trying to make my own videos that way. And I realized I like that. And so I started networking to different people that do that career specifically. And that's kind of how I went into that pathway. Yeah. So it's just like, I think for a lot of people, if they're wanting to do a specific area of filmmaking, network with the people that do it already, because they already have the experience. They're going to help you get past a lot of the things that you don't need to try to figure out on your own. Yeah. And then kind of going from there. And
if you're a good head and you've got you've got that ambition, you want to work hard, you're not going to be flaky. Like when I see people that want to get into anything that I'm doing, and I find that like, you can just see the ambition. It's like, I want you. Want you. It's not even hard to find jobs if you can just like be that person. And I'm always telling people that, like, just put yourself out there. And going back to what you're saying about this hustle and this like grind, I was actually going to ask you, do you want to scoot that closer to you so you can sit back? Are you comfortable? There we go. Like that. Relax, yeah. Danny. You look a little tense. Just like no. But no, there's a huge piece to what you're talking about, especially coming as a cop and you couldn't post anything. there's this massive piece of building your reputation, right? And building to become that person that people want to go to. And so as you start to navigate these different avenues of filmmaking and you find one you like, you've got to start building your credibility in that. So it's like, yeah, you're going to network with these people, but then, so now you have a person that knows who you are, but then it's like, how do I build my reputation? And you know, a lot of that comes with just posting on social media, the networking events, and starting to tell people what you do. And then you slowly become that person, and the opportunities just start to open up. A lot of people just don't know where to start. And it's really just what you're saying. Just talk to people, you have to talk about yourself, which is hard, and social media is the best place to do it. And then doing it in your own voice. I think that's what's cool about what you're doing on Instagram is you've found you're doing it the way you want to do it, and it's humorous. And, you know, obviously you're still posting things that you've done, but like, I didn't know any of that about you, because when I see your Instagram, it's like, you're a filmmaker, you know what I mean? So you become that person, and then all of a sudden the avenues start to open up. And it sounds like you went down this product route. What happened after that? Like, were you getting paid gigs for product stuff?
Yeah, so I was doing paid gigs. I felt like my first couple years were very unique to a lot of people's experiences, where I started making money pretty quickly. And I think it was just by putting myself in the right position and making sure that I was providing value to people, every single person around me. I think that's the biggest thing that I see with a lot of people, is that they are very creative, but they might not be social. They might not be providing value. As when I think about like just the last, you know, few projects that I've been on, we'll hire out some contractors with Film Lab, and there are people that I can't remember if they were the greatest, you know, at whatever position, but I remember feeling great having them on set. And then we're like, hey, I want to have that person on set again. They were great. And it's always just how you felt around them. So if I could give any advice to people, it'd be, make sure that you are, one, providing value and you know, doing your job, but then also give people a great experience. And that's going to set you up for success. With Mitch, who's the owner of Film Lab, I think with him, even how I met him in my journey was, I provided value in a way. It was a very unique, weird way. So even still to this day, I play a lot of video games. It was a weird thing where, for whatever reason, I was meeting a lot of filmmakers through playing Call of Duty.
Nice.
So I think it was like through Warzone. I think it was I'd met one friend. Oh, so this would be the whole thing. How I met Mitch is when I went and shot with Jake Weisler, there was another guy there, and his name is Spencer, and he's a photographer, a great photographer. And when I was talking to him about what he does outside of work, he was talking about that he plays video games. So I was like, oh, what games do you play? He plays Call of Duty. I'm like, oh, I play Call of Duty as well, dude. Let me get your gamer tag.
Nice.
So that, you know, I go back home and he's online one day, and then so we're playing, talking and stuff, and then he's like, hey, I've got another buddy who's on, and then he introduces me to Mitch. And so Mitch is an amazing filmmaker, and so talking with him, you know, online, figuring out what he does, and we network that way. And then when I end up moving to Utah, ended up being able to meet up with him a couple times. And then throughout this journey, there was a time that he put something in the group chat about like, hey, does anyone want to play Call of Duty or whatever? We had this big group chat of people, and I said, I can't, I'm shooting a wedding in Colorado. And he texts me right away and goes, hey, we're out in Colorado. And I said, we're in Denver. And he's like, how long are you going to be there? Because we're shooting at the Red Rocks in 2 days. And I was like, oh, I go back tomorrow. And then that was another experience where I was like, you know what? I really want to work with Mitch. Yeah. I think he's an amazing filmmaker, and this would be a great opportunity to network with him. He's like, I can't pay you, but I can get you another pass to come shoot this concert with us. And so I changed my flight, ended up having to pay for a whole nother flight, and ended up going to the Red Rocks and having a great time.
So cool.
And so that was the first time I'd actually been able to shoot with Mitch.
Yeah.
It was like we had met a couple times and stuff, but that was the first time I actually got to shoot with him.
What stage of his career was that? Was that
so that was so that was
Avenue Film Co. Yeah.
When that happened, I think he had just started. That one he had just barely started Film Lab. So that would have been the end of, I think that was the end of 2021 or 2022. But he had just left Route and then to pursue his production company.
Yeah.
And so there were only just a couple of them. And yeah, he's like, I can't pay you, but for me, it was something where I knew I want to network with him because I respect him as a filmmaker. I've seen his work, and if I want to become better, I've got to work with better people.
Yeah.
But we had a great experience, and ever since that day, we have been really good friends. And so then as Film Lab had grown, he'd be like, hey man, you should come work for us. And I was like, I don't know if I want to. I don't want to have a boss, but you know, the right time aligned, and I took him up on it and ended up starting to work at Film Lab, and it's been one of the best decisions.
So when you were with him shooting and then also just pursuing filmmaking, were you still on this path to like become a director, or did you start to like love shooting? Or?
And so I think it was hard because at first I didn't know, like I knew there are career paths of just being a director, but it wasn't where I was like, I only want to be a director. I was still doing freelance stuff. So I'm still running the whole thing. I'm shooting, editing, concepting, talking with clients. And so when I first switched over to Film Lab, the very first thing was I had done a couple contract jobs with him. And then even one of my very first big contract with them was 3 months of just editing. Yeah. So it wasn't that I was like, oh, I only direct.
Yeah.
It was just, I want to do anything and everything to get better. And then when I started working with Film Lab more and more, I started recognizing that my pathway seems to be more directing.
Cool. I
really love that passion of directing specifically.
That's amazing. And it's very similar to when I was at Supertramp. It was like that like edit, direct, produce, like you just kind of are whatever the company needs at that time.
Yep.
And so when you're getting into Film Lab, before you even started there, what was, when you were getting contracted, like were you getting contracted as a director, or were you just shooting when you were at the Red Rocks? Were you just shooting, like what were you doing before you got hired?
So the Red
primarily?
Rocks, it was just to be an extra shooter.
Cool.
So went to the Red Rocks with him and brought my camera just to shoot. And at the time I didn't know if I was going to shoot, if I was going to edit, what I was going to be doing. I knew I needed to network and provide value to do anything and everything so that I could learn from these people that I looked up to. And so it's like that. I did that. Some other ones, it was a little bit of directing. And then another one was, like I said, the 3 months of just editing. And then when I went full time with them, there weren't specific roles. And so even right now, there aren't specific roles. It's more of a hybrid where one day I might direct, one day I might shoot, one day I might edit. So but the longer I'm going on in this journey, the more I'm getting put into the director role.
Yeah, a lot of people start like you do, where they're freelancing, right? They're self-employed, they're doing their thing, and then an opportunity to work somewhere comes up, and it sounds like it wasn't your first choice when it happened the first time, when you just kind of entertained the idea of it. Talk to me about this transition from freelance to then working for a production company, and like what was that thought process like? And then
when I was doing freelance, I was still kind of doing a lot of anything and everything, just to be able to make money. And so I wasn't like specific of like, I only shoot car commercials, or I only shoot, mini docs, or whatever it was. But I as I was going down that path, I was trying to figure out, can I do this forever? Am I going to feel burnt out of just having to do everything? And I didn't know if I felt like part of me was kind of getting burnt out of having to do everything.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to think, how can I still do this as my career? But as I had done contracts throughout this freelance life with Film Lab, I really loved the culture there.
Yeah.
It was just, anytime I was on set, it was fun. I never felt stressed, never felt like I didn't want to be there. It was some of the best experiences. Yeah. I kind of realized if I worked there, I could do this a lot more often. I can provide value because I know all the different aspects of talking with clients, producing, editing, shooting, directing. I know all those different aspects, and I can kind of fit wherever they need me to be.
Yeah.
And so it was more just, I started getting burnt out of just doing freelance. And so then when I talked with Mitch, I was like, I definitely want to go full time with you.
Yeah. And this was after you had already done a few gigs.
Yeah. And so I've been with Film Lab for, I don't even know what year are we in? 2026, 2020, 2023, end of 2023, I think. Yeah.
Nice. So a little bit of time.
Yeah.
What's the day in the life of you right now at Film Lab? And it sounds like it changes a lot. Your hours aren't set. Let's talk about, just like, for someone that's listening, like wants to understand what it's like to work at a film production company. Did you guys ever call it an agency, or do you avoid that word?
I don't think so. Like we're just a film production company that, again, it's still similar to the freelance life of we shoot anything and everything.
Yeah.
Probably post more of just like the really cool stuff, obviously.
Yeah.
So I think from an outside perspective, if you're looking into Film Lab, you're like, man, all they do is shoot the coolest stuff of all time. But we also shoot some very boring stuff, and it's to keep Film Lab afloat.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that there's not a typical day. It's either
it's all over.
Yeah, it's all over. Mondays we have a lot of meetings of just like what's going to be happening throughout the week.
Are they like internal team meetings?
Yeah, so we'll have internal team meetings, and so some days, or some Mondays, can be very long, just constant meetings. But then other times it can be kind of quicker meetings, and then it just changes. Like yesterday, we had a shoot from 8 till 3, and then we went back to the studio to set up for our next shoot, which we started shooting today. So yeah, it depends on if we have a shoot or not, and then if not, then we're probably editing or doing pre-production for our next project.
That's cool, because I mean I know this life, it's never the same, and it's all over the place.
Yeah.
Do you guys find that you're working with a lot of the same people, or is it like, are you specifically ever doing any client outreach, or like, are you ever selling the business, or is it you're just kind of there to produce what comes in? Or is Mike that guy that's selling?
Yeah, my for me, I am there to create content.
Cool.
And so my job isn't to get into sales, but I represent myself in a way so that if opportunities happen, I can bring them into Film Lab.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the cool things too, is seeing every single person on the team really love every other person on the team. And so we want the business to win, because if the business wins, we also win.
Right. So now taking another spin, I think a lot of people would want to understand, a lot of our listeners just want to hear from experiences that other people are doing and learn from them, and kind of decide like if they want to pursue that. And I think that working in-house at a production company is cool. And I love to hear that your guys' sets are that way. I remember Josh Miller telling me the same thing. It's like there's nothing better and more fun than being on a fun set with good people. Like that is common in every single podcast, that is what people live for, is those experiences on set. With you guys, you specifically, take me through your day when it comes, or not even just a day, but the process you go through when it comes from, let's say you get a deal that comes across Film Lab's desk and they pitch it to you and they're like, do they give it to you? Are you like, I'll take that? And then walk us through pre-production, production, on set. I'd love to hear your on-set etiquette, how you handle clients, how you handle crew, the actors as a director, and then to post-production. Like, let's break it down.
So sales usually happen. That'll be with Mitch and Mike, figuring out some of the budget, trying to figure out what the deliverables are going to be. And once a lot of that stuff is figured out, they bring in, depending on what part, they'll bring me in, and usually it will be pretty early on. We'll be talking about what the project is, what we'll possibly need for that project. We'll talk about a little bit about budget, and them trying to explain what the vision is for the client. Yeah. From there, have a couple FaceTime calls with the client, talking to them, trying to figure out, make sure that I understand that their vision correctly. Yeah. And depending, I mean, it changes all the time. So it's like, it's hard to say like, this is the routine. When it's bigger projects, we'll have someone who is writing the scripts. When it's small projects, it might be the internal team writing the
talk
the
about
scripts.
A bigger one.
Yeah. So
let's talk big and work back.
With a big project, it would be, we would have, the sales, then we would have the meetings with the client, and then the writer talking with the client back and forth. Once they kind of have the idea of their script that they want to have, then I'm talking with the writer of saying, cool. Hey, this is what they wanted. Okay, how can we actually bring this to life? Is this possible to bring to life? Maybe even talking with the writer, being like, okay, that idea was great, but logically that's gonna be breaking the budget. Like, we're not gonna be able to do that within this budget constraint. What do we need to dial back? Is there a way to pivot to make this kind of a similar idea from there? And then as we kind of refine that and make sure we have that good to go, then I'm going to be talking with whichever person it is, talking with our DP of saying, okay, how do we make this actually come to life? Reading the script, this is how I envision this. Do you feel that this is possible? What do you envision in this sense? And I really love talking with the DP of how they envision things too, because they're going to be the ones that are going to be making it look amazing.
Good, yeah.
And so being able to have that conversation back and forth with the DP is really fun, being able to hear their ideas of like, okay, this is how I think it could go, and then talking back and forth. And once we have that, we start working on our shot list of coming together, saying like, okay, we want this shot, this shot, and then going from there. Then it's depending on what my role is. Sometimes I'll write the schedule of saying, okay, let's actually shoot it in this order. This makes the most sense to me, and shooting this order is for time efficiency. So sometimes, we're not shooting it in order of the project. It might be very scattered, but it makes it a little more efficient on time. And then once we get on set, again, it's so funny because I feel like I know a lot of people want to have like a routine or like, hey, what is the method? And I think the more that I do this, the more I realize there are certain things that will be similar that happen, but not everything is defined every single time. Like it's always going to happen like this. It's always going to happen like this. It's just learning how to fix problems that you come across. Yeah. So sometimes you might have a client that wants to be very hands-on, and they're wanting to change script mid shoot. They're wanting, and you're having to balance the idea of they are your client, they're the one paying for this, but then also making sure that you're not saying yes to everything that they say and then screwing yourself over in the end. And so there's that fine balance with that. But it's like some clients will have that are very hands-on, some that aren't, some that have a lot of notes in post, some of them have no notes, and some people that aren't hands-on, but they might be on set, they might have seen the stuff, they might have the most notes. And so it's just every scenario is different, but just in that process, that's kind of where we get to. So sometimes when we're on set, the first thing I'll be doing, as director, I'll be talking with the DP, like, hey, okay, so this is what we talked about previously for this shot, kind of thinking about shooting it maybe in this direction. What are your thoughts? And kind of going from there. And then depending on how many people we have on set, sometimes we might not have an assistant director, we might not have an extra person to be able to cater the client. So I might be directing and also trying to cater with the client, making sure that they're happy, making sure that they're having a great experience. Because again, it all goes back to, even though I'm just creating, I still want to make sure that the client has a great experience, because if they have that great experience, they're going to start trusting us more, where they're going to they'll probably leave us alone if they say, hey, you see our vision all the time, we can sit back a little bit. Also, they'll be returning clients just by having that great experience.
When you're talking to clients like that and dealing with them, even in the early stage, how often do you deal with having to kind of sell yourself? And because I'm sure they're like, I want Mitch to direct, or I want Mitch involved. I dealt with this at Supertramp. I'd show up to set and they're like, wait, Devin's not coming? And I'm like, ugh. And then by the end of the shoot, they're like, oh, we love working with you. Do you find that similar to you, or do you just establish that super early? Like, I don't know how often they call and want Mitch to work on the project.
Yeah, I'm
just curious.
Well, I think the nice thing with Film Lab is the name Film Lab specifically.
It's not.
It doesn't say Mitch.
Exactly.
I know everyone wants to work with Mitch. I want to work with Mitch. That's why I'm there. But I think we established a lot of the roles very early on, so we don't have too much of that.
Cool.
And so they're pretty happy with some of those things. And as well as, I think we have a great handoff where say that they are wanting Mitch, but I'm going to be talking with them on the call at the same time with Mitch.
Yep.
And maybe it might be slowly tapering him off in that sense, so that there's a little bit of a better handoff in that sense. I haven't had too many people being on set being like, why isn't he here? Yeah. So I think just by establishing, very early on, but it's making sure that the client's having a great experience the whole time.
Well, it makes me stoked for you guys, because that's a hurdle, especially for Mitch to kind of get over as he's building something, and then bringing Mike in as well is a huge part of that. But that's really cool for the business for people to like hire you guys as a company and remove that whole like hiring for that person, because then that's where you're going to scale. Tell me, I just want to help people understand a little bit of why you would jumble up the shot list and shoot in a different order than you would like from top to bottom. Because in my mind, I'm like, oh, common sense, right? But there are some people that might not understand why you would want to shoot out of order.
Yeah.
As a director.
It was early on when I first started working at Film Lab. I always thought about shooting sequentially.
Yeah, because a lot of people do.
To me, it just makes the most sense. Like, okay, we have to do this. Now we have to go do this. We have to do this. It was actually on set with, we were shooting the intro shot to Film Lab's Reel. Mm-hmm. And this was a few years back. And Brady Bissett was on set. And when we were talking with him about the shot list, he goes, okay, it's going to take a lot more time if we're shooting this close-up shot and then we have to jump to the wide and then we have to go to a medium shot, because I'm having to move lighting back and forth, rather than we should just shoot all of the wide shots first, because then the lighting stays the same consistently. Then we go mediums, then tights, and we can slowly bring in the lighting. And at that point, it just clicked where it was like, that makes a lot more sense. That's way more efficient than having to, wait 10 minutes between each shot for people to get lighting in perfectly. We can just shoot all these things. It might feel a little bit weird. So as we're talking to the talent saying, hey, we're in this part of the scene now, we're shooting this way. We've already gone past this. So you're going to be reacting differently or whatever it is. And just efficiency, that happened to save so much time for us. And so that was one of the greatest pieces of advice that I learned early on working at Film Lab, was by figuring out how can you shoot it quicker and more efficiently, so that not everyone's having to work, 12, 15 times harder.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and then ultimately it all comes down to saving money.
Yes.
So the faster you are, the better the business does. And that's the bottom line, right? And so I remember learning that in college, and it was like, duh. but it's so natural to just think you have to shoot in order because you want the actor to, be in that mindset and not have to jump from thing to thing. But everyone's pretty familiar with it as they get more into, the career, and that's just normal. But wanted to kind of have you speak to that a little bit. So then when you're on set, you're obviously the etiquette. Talk to me just a little bit. Give some advice on that client relationship as you're on set, trying to be creative, but also putting out fires, having conversations with the DP, having everyone ask you questions. That's like I think one of the more fun things for me when I'm directing is like you get in the flow and you get in the zone and like the day flies because you're doing so much. How do you handle that, being creative but also having to be logistical at the same time?
Yeah. I think early on, as we all do when we start filmmaking, when we have these fires that we need to put out, we feel like we're doing everything wrong, or we feel like, man, I'm new at this, but once I become more experienced, I'm not going to have these issues. And I think just by having more experience, you just learn to put out these fires more quickly. You understand different ways to put out these fires. So with clients, some of the things that I've learned is if it's a cost issue, we might be talking with them and they might change the script and saying, hey, I want to actually do this. One of the ways that I've been able to talk with a client about that is, yeah, we can absolutely do that. Because I think a lot of clients don't want to be told no.
Mm-hmm.
So talking to the client, like, we can absolutely do that. If we end up doing that, if it's a time thing, we will have to cut out these things. Which things do you want us to cut out? And putting it back on them, being like, oh, actually, I can't do that then because we will lose these things and I want these things. Or if it's another one, it's like, we can absolutely do this, but we definitely we're going to have to increase the budget because with our contract, we allotted this and this for talent. So we're going to have to pay for more talent. We're going to have to pay for some of these contractors that we have on set. So if you guys are good with that, we can definitely do that. And I think that by just being upfront with some of the clients rather than being tiptoeing around and being like, I think we can do that.
And then get them on
it makes it a lot easier. Yeah. Like when you can just like let the client know. I think too many people are worried to talk with the client saying, I don't want to upset the client. Mm-hmm. And it lets the client know too, okay, it is possible, but there are consequences or there are things that have to follow up if we end up doing that.
I think that's amazing advice because it's intimidating because you're essentially talking about time and then also money, and you're playing with their money, but you're also playing with your vision and your goals, but that you want to have a good experience. And the idea of taking the pressure off of yourself and not just like obviously putting it on them, but having it become a conversation that's back and forth, and it's not like you're shutting them down or they're going to shut you down. It's like that collaboration of where you're saying, okay, yeah, let's talk about this. You've got this, which is going to eat up some time at the end of the day we'll have to get rid of this. Do you like see a solution there? Would you rather get rid of that or this? And then it's like all of a sudden it's off you and it's now on them, but then they're going to kick it back. And it sounds like, that's easy. And it's like, yeah, that's what you're doing. But it's like, it's so important and crucial to collaborate and be transparent. And then upfront, like you're saying, like when you're talking to a client and you're just upfront about what's happening, instead of sending them a bill later and pissing them off because you're like, wait, I didn't know we were going to spend that much on that question or decision I asked. But it's just like, but that's kind of this question of like balancing those logistics while you're trying to be creative. Because if, let's say they do ask for a big change and it's going to add to the budget, are you writing up a contract real quick, or are you calling in someone from the production side and having them deal with the client, or like what's that like? Have you had that happen where it has been like a big change that's going to affect budget on set?
Yeah, we have a lot of, I think it will never go away with clients wanting to change things on set, and it might be a big change. But I think the more that we explain the process with clients, the better, or the less time that we have that, because you also have to remember that clients aren't in this world of filmmaking. They don't understand some processes of being like, oh, actually we have to do this, this, and this in order to do this.
Yeah.
But explaining the process to clients, I think is the best way to prevent a lot of those things. And when clients become very adamant about that stuff, if it's not possible, just being upfront saying it's not possible right now, like we'll have to shoot it another day. But if it is possible, I think some people want to stick to their guns of being like, well, it's technically outside the scope, I don't want to shoot this. Like, cater the clients, build relationships, don't just focus on clients.
Yeah.
Like, the more that you can build relationships and not build clients, the better.
Yeah.
Because I've noticed a lot of some of the stressful shoots that we've had, the nice thing is we've built great relationships with some of these clients that they're not so worried when something goes wrong. They're not so worried when they're not able to do something that they just thought of because of time restraints or budget. I think it goes back to building the experience with the clients, and then building the relationship where you can actually see them as a friend and they can see you as a friend, and it will make things go a lot smoother.
I love it, dude. That's exactly how I think about things. It's like relationships, friendships, man, they're people. Stop thinking of it as a transaction.
Yes.
And it's like, let's enjoy this together.
That's where I'm like,
get what you want.
I wish people would stop. Like, there's obviously everyone needs to get paid. Everyone needs to have that income so that they can live and survive. But focus more on building the relationship before focusing on just trying to hurry and make money and move on to the next person, because you're going to burn a lot of bridges.
Yeah.
And I think
won't last.
Yeah. And it's like going back to like the start of my career, I didn't worry about the budget necessarily. I just worried about building the relationships, and that set me up for success to be able to work where I am now.
Amazing. Before we go towards the end too far, I want to just talk about something that like you are super proud of at this point in your career that you've directed or shot, and we can pull it up on the board. Do you have like a video that you're most proud of at this point?
It's funny because I feel like there's several times where I'm like, I'll feel good about a thing, and then I get really picky about something where I'm like, man, I don't think I'm proud of a lot of stuff. But then I'll look back on some
like,
things.
Dude, that's so good.
and people look at that. Oh, that's good. I start critiquing all the things because I think one negative thing is that I am very hard on myself about things. I'm like, oh, it should have went like this. And I think that was one of my issues with not posting a lot of my work for a while, was I was just getting so fixated on like, oh, it's not good enough, or there's other people that are better than me. Like I don't think it's good enough. But it's funny because I started then realizing who is my audience. It's gonna be someone like my mom. Right. And I'm like, is she noticing the little? No. This should have been like this. Is the color maybe too warm, too cool? Like what? No, she doesn't notice any of those things. Yeah. She's happy that I'm making stuff. But then I was like, okay, the majority of people are going to be similar, where they're not going to be noticing some of those things.
It's hard though, because you do have those people in your head that are like, they're going to see this and they're going to notice that. Yeah. But like, I deal with it all the time.
Yeah. Even a lot of things where I will make a really rough edit of something, and I'll have another editor next to me and they're like, oh yeah, that looks great. I'm like, yeah, but what about this, this, and this? And then we pause the frame and they're like, okay, now I see it. Yeah. But because I've been working on it so long, I notice all these little things. But even, the editor that's watching is like, I didn't see that. Yeah. But now that you pointed out, I see it.
And that's the thing, is there's so many things you wish you'd have done different. No one will ever know what those things are. And you kind of start to learn that it doesn't matter, and you just got to put it out there. Yeah. But yeah, what comes to mind?
Let's see. Man, I had to think now. I'm like blanking. I'm like, have I done anything? No.
Have you done anything? Should you be here? Hold on. I just got totally.
Can you pull up one video you've done? I'm like, no.
Wait.
It's funny because it's like, what's hard about my brain is a lot of times I'll forget like what my favorite thing that I directed was, but it was like it's more just like the experiences that were happening on set.
Yeah.
So,
but you won't forget that one thing in your calendar.
Yeah. Yeah. I won't forget my calendar, but
Yeah.
Trying to think of.
You had jog his
Yeah.
memory.
Let's see. Oh man.
Is this your website?
This is Film Labs.
Film Labs.
So I think going to the Sleepy Santa one, I think that one's a really fun one. This one,
I love this
I
one.
helped assist. I was the assistant director and then helped co-direct part of it.
And Josh DP'd this one.
And Josh DP'd this one. Yeah,
Yeah,
this one was a really fun one. It was at a gas station, and I think we were shooting like at 3 a.m. Like I think we would have started like at 11, 12 at night. It was a pretty late shoot.
Yeah.
But it was fun because like even like on little things like this, we were worried about product placement and people seeing, other logos. So it's like when he's walking through like the aisle, we actually flipped around all the bags so you don't see any of the bags.
Yeah.
And then all the drinks we flipped around. But this was a fun project. Just the team that we had on set, I think was so fun. And then one of my favorite things that we didn't know was going to happen was they took that frame of Santa Claus drinking spills and they put that as billboard ads.
Yeah.
And so being able to see our work up on a billboard, I think was really fun.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So we had really great talents. We had really great team for this project, and yeah, it was really fun. So that one was a fun project. Another one that comes to mind would be I think it was on that was the.
Did you ever
Mother's
shoot
Day.
anything or edit anything at Film Lab, or you just
So
ADing
there's
or directing?
one of my edits I did. If you scroll down, I think it was on that left, that Crumble meaningful moments. So this was for an ad for Crumble for Mother's Day. So I got to edit this one, and one of the fun things about this was I had to edit this like in a day and a half. I almost had no time for revisions or anything. They needed it back so quickly. But this was like a mom and son. He's growing up making cookies with his mom, and he starts to realize that he loves making cookies with his mom. And then so you have all these happy moments with mom.
Mm-hmm.
And then now he's gotten older. The funny thing is the actor, the younger one to that one, didn't look the same at all. But now he's going away to college. Mom's got cookies for him, and then he takes off. And then he leaves, and then on this next scene that we see right here, he comes back a little bit older, and now he's engaged. And so it just kind of shows this life of him and his mom. And again, then she's like, "Hey, I brought you some cookies," and right there he says, "You know me so well." Now he has a kid. And so this one was it was fun because the turnaround was so quick on it, and it was like that stressful thing of all the pressure is on me. This is one of my first big edits I had to do, and then having the quick turnaround. But I had such a fun time. And so this is where he walks in at another period, and it's an older part. His mom's passed away, so it's kind of this darker moment, but he sees some of these pictures with his mom, and then he decides, you know what, I'm gonna go to the kitchen and I'm gonna kind of continue the tradition, and I'm gonna cook some cookies. And so he's getting out his stuff, and as he starts, then his daughter comes in and says, "Can I help?"
Oh, chills.
Just like at the very beginning when his mom was making cookies, he walks in and says, "Can I help?"
Yep. Full circle.
Yep, full circle.
Beautiful.
But that was a really fun one. But yeah, so it's like we'll shoot stuff for Crumble, we'll shoot stuff for Utah Jazz, Kizik. It's been really fun, just all the different projects that we've been able to shoot.
Yeah, I love to see what you guys are doing, and I love to be able to have a little piece in it too when you guys come here. I love watching you guys be creative.
Yeah,
Such a fun team.
We love coming here. It's been fun. We've had some fun shoots here.
Well, dude, I want to kind of hear just about where you see yourself heading now. Like, I know you're directing, and you're like full time. You're doing it, dude. You're doing the thing that a lot of people aspire to do, and I want to just hear the trajectory you're on and where you see this kind of going over the next, 5 to 10 years, if you don't even want to think that far, just like,
yeah, it's funny because I'm in a period where I don't know.
Yeah.
And so even though there's been a lot of positive things happening, one of the hard things that's happened recently with Film Lab is we ended up having to let half of our team go, and so that was a really hard thing. And with that, one of the things that happened was I ended up going part-time.
Okay.
So with that, I'm part-time with Film Lab, and then the other part I'm doing freelance.
Cool.
So it's kind of this hybrid thing. So for me, this just happened, a couple weeks ago. And so I don't know exactly what my future looks like.
Yeah.
But again, looking at the very beginning of my career, it's the same thing. It's networking with people. It's taking care of clients, building great relationships, and everything's going to work out.
Yeah.
As long as I make sure everyone else has a great experience, I provide value, and I think it's genuine value on top of that. I think that's a big key component when people hear, oh, build relationships. It's like, okay, cool. Hey, I'm a videographer. I'm a filmmaker. I do this. Like, let's be friends. But sometimes looking for some type of exchange. But for me at the beginning was I didn't care about if it made me money or not. I wanted to genuinely build relationships. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I've continued to do throughout this time. And so that's kind of where I'm at, is just continuing to build relationships, continuing to build friendships, and moving forward and finding work that way.
Well, you're here and you're doing it now.
Yeah.
You're building a relationship and you're networking. When you say you're freelancing, what kind of work are you trying to get? Are you trying to do directing, or are you kind of going back to, shooting and?
Yeah. So whether it's shooting or whether it's directing, I'm not stuck in directing where I'm like, I only direct. I love directing, and I would love to do more of that. But sometimes I'm like, I do love being behind the camera. Yeah. So it's fun to be behind the camera. So it's like, totally. If that comes across too, I'd love to DP some stuff as well.
So if it was the perfect world and you got exactly what you wanted, what does that look like? I'm going to ask you this one. What does it look like in 10 years?
The perfect world, it would be working with all my friends, creating projects that we love, and finding a way to get paid for it.
Cool.
I think that's kind of the dream for everyone. Yeah. Just staying around the same friends that are all wanting to pursue something and create something beautiful.
Yeah. Love that. Good perspective. And it truly is like showing how genuine you are, that you are doing this for the love of the game and not just, in it to make a quick buck. Obviously you got to make a living, but your perspective is right on point. It's how I just approach everything with what can I do for you? And that comes, goes into family relationships, to business relationships, client relationships. Like if you just look at life that way, where it's like, we're all trying to figure this crazy life out. Like, how can I help you get where you want to go? That's like what I've tried to focus on the most recently. And I love that you're already on that same trajectory. It's like, how do I network, but also help these people do what they need, and by adding value, and then ultimately makes a good world, and it'll come back.
Yeah. It's like, I want to see everyone win.
Yeah.
Because if everyone can win, there's enough work for everyone to win. And I just want to see everyone win, because everyone deserves that.
So cool. Did we decide to not do the question thing? Yeah. So we used to ask questions at the end.
Favorite color?
We need a new way to end this, because that was it. We'd have you ask the next guest, not knowing who it was. How should we end our podcast? Season 2. This is episode 54, and we still haven't figured it out.
Let's see.
But most people don't even get to this point, so pressure's off.
I'm like, how do we get? Yeah, let's see how to end it. I'll start off with the serenading the audience with
some deep, slow
music.
Talking. Welcome to a filmmaker's journey. But no, go ahead. Were you about to say something?
I'm like, I don't know.
I don't mean to put you on the spot like that. But any advice you would give? We'll just end with some advice you would give someone that is a cop, and I'm just kidding, that is just really going down a path that maybe is a safe path, or a path that they don't necessarily feel 100% in and they want to try filmmaking, what would you say to them?
If it's your passion, go for it.
What if it's hard?
Everything in life is hard.
I don't think it could have been harder than what you were dealing with.
I think everything in life is hard.
Yeah.
If I hadn't pursued filmmaking, I would be working at the sheriff's office questioning, what if?
Yeah.
What if?
Yeah.
And that to me is so much harder, is having that, well, what if I did that? What if I did that? Because I know a lot of people are worried about failing.
Yeah.
But, go after it, fail fast. If it doesn't work out, pivot.
Yeah.
Just go after it.
Yeah, I always tell people to do it all too. Like, I think a lot of people waste a lot of time, and it kind of feels like, how do I do it? So it's like, if you're in something and you want to try something, do them both, but do it in that, that extra time. And so, yeah, just going for it and basically hustling, man. Yeah. Just especially in this career, there's a lot of things you can do on the side, like you were doing the weddings and job shadowing. It's
like it might not be the exact path that you want.
Yeah.
You're like, oh well, I think that's another thing too. Sometimes people are too, I don't want to do that, so I'm not going to do it. Do everything and anything so that you can kind of figure out, okay, I don't like that pathway as much, or maybe I'm doing this just to help myself get here. If you don't want to shoot weddings, maybe you're just assisting with the camera, or you're a second shooter, or you're shooting a couple weddings here and there to support yourself to get in this way. I think, there's just something that I've kind of like learned, is that life is short, make it count. To me, that's a thing that I've kind of lived by, and a phrase that I've kind of come up with, because you can sit there and think about the what ifs all day and it just burns, but like, just go find out.
Yeah. Find out. No regrets. No regrets.
Yeah. No regrets.
Cool, dude. Well, I'm excited to see where you head, man. I'm excited to see what you're up to. Your story is amazing. Like, it just makes me want to root for you, and like hope that everything, goes the direction you want in 5 years. Like, hey, Danny, you did it. You're doing it, man. Even though you're already doing it. But anyway, thanks for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me.
This is Danny Garcia, your guest. This is A Filmmaker's Journey. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me on.